Nirvana – американская рок-группа, созданная вокалистом и
Like, here, eat the sweets.
Come on, Francis, once you do this, you won't ever not want to. Don't make her have a little tiny taste. She thinks it's medicine.
Because it comes from the spoon.
Now. That is good. There's no...
You got it
That's a lot,
now.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Once you go Frank Black, you never go back.
So anyway, you know this is for a half-hour stuff. Stuff and history and stuff.
Right, well, we offered to contribute some of our old stuff that's going to be on home video for it, because it would be kind of boring without some really old footage, you know.
Thank you.
Oh, sure.
That'll be great. I know I pictured using music from Bleach and photos and album.
Right, and that would look really cheesy. Just photos.
That'd be really cool. So I guess starting at the beginning, can you talk about what kind of town Aberdeen is and what it was like growing up there? And
What kind of town is Aberdeen? It's a coastal logging town in Washington State. It's really secluded. And it's about 200 miles away from Seattle, which is the only really large city in Washington State. And Olympia's about halfway in between those two towns. And Olympia has a little bit of culture, and that. I went to that place more than I went to almost any other place during my youth to seek out punk rock and a lot of other types of music, live music.
what was it like growing up there? Just as a kid, was it kind of boring and hard to grow up there because there wasn't much to do, or probably had to invent your own things to do and to amuse yourself?
Yeah, well, we invented our own amusement. We vandalized, skipped school, smoked pot, smoked cigarettes, and that's about it. Listen to music. The local record store only had top 40 music. The local radio station only played top 40 music. So, I mean, we were pretty much just stuck with whatever was there in Aberdeen, you know.
Do you think that's why? I mean, a lot of aside from the obvious way Nirvana sounds, you've got a real pop sensibility. Do you think that's where that came from, or what kind of was it? Your mom listening to stuff, or what do you think you heard first that might have had a subconscious?
Well, my parents were never music lovers. I don't recall my mom ever really owning any albums besides John Denver's Greatest Hits. Is that the Greatest Hits album where he's going like this with his hand on his hat, like this, going? Is that the Greatest Hits album, or just one of his popular records? I don't know, but that's about it. That and just top 40 radio. You know, Seasons in the Sun, really white bread, white pop music. You know.
Do you think that's what kind of seeped through, or do you hope it was maybe something better than that sort of?
Well, it must have seeped through. I mean, it must have had an effect on us. Yeah.
Do you think, if you had lived in the utopian suburban neighborhood and maybe had the typical family and the Cosby Show upbringing, do you think you still would have picked up a guitar and wanted to do what you did now?
The utopian neighborhood? If you mean if I lived with Dr. Huxtable? Yeah, probably. I think so. My father one time, a few years ago, he wrote me a letter and he said, I would like, in one way or another, he said, you know, if it wasn't for, you know, living in an oppressed town, you know, you wouldn't have had the incentive to really go out and prove something to anyone. And he likes to take credit for that, for bringing me in, you know, bringing me up in a small town. But no, I'm sure I would have looked for punk rock, and it just would have been easier for me, and I would have gotten into it at an earlier age, you know. And I just would have, you know, I mean, I just think there's a breed of people who really honestly like music, and there aren't very many of them, really.